So what would you do if you were handcuffed for a month?
Meditate.
Ooh. Yeah, that's very suitable. You'd meditate for a month.
Yeah. I mean, I want to meditate for a month anyway. I would love to go to like a Buddhist temple and just check out for like an entire month. And I was going to do that before, right as the pandemic hit. So right then, and just like all the temples and everything shut down, and I was like, I'm not going to go anyway, even if they were open. So yeah, I mean, it would actually be convenient if that happened because I've been wanting to meditate for a month straight,
Right.
which I have before, just like not in a situation in which I was forced to, you know?
You meditated for a month straight?
Yeah, like 3 months straight.
Wow. Okay, tell me what made you take. So did you know that you were staying for 3 months once you began?
No, I did that in my room.
Okay, but were you planning for like 3 months?
No, I just did it. I didn't plan it out. It's just something that I just did.
Wow. And you were
I
so
would
in the
just I would
zone.
go to sleep and I would wake up and like I would eat when I needed to, and like all the other time I was awake, I meditated for like, yeah, 80 days straight.
Wow. How about like were people asking about you, calling you?
I mean,
Uh,
at the time I was in a polycule, so I lived in Colorado with two of my ex-girlfriends, and I just I wasn't really online as much at the time anyway. And they weren't worried about me. I mean, they knew where I was at and they were happy for me. So um no, I don't think so. Like I think everybody knew I was fine. Yeah.
wow. So how did it feel afterwards?
I mean, it was a major it played a major role in the self-love that I told you about, because like I had been working on that, but like that completely solidified it.
Okay. Wow. I'm still. It's astounding. 3 months of meditation. Wow. I mean,
I
I
would
can
do
bear.
more, like, if I could right now. I mean, I
I,
came down here and started meditating again, but I have to kind of like work up to the skill that I was at. Like, it took years to get to certain skill levels with it, um, and I'm not quite where I was to where I could do it for 90 days again at the moment, but I want to get to that point.
I'm curious because you're a word nerd as well. Do you meditate on words?
I do when I'm playing Scrabble. Sometimes I will. Or do you mean like affirmations or just like, let me just go into what I was saying, I guess. Sometimes in Scrabble, I'll stare at a word until it's not a word anymore, if you mean that. But
You stare
otherwise,
at. Tell me more. Tell me more. I'm intrigued.
you know how if you like look at a word long enough, it stops looking like a word that you know. It
Right.
starts looking
Yes.
weird,
A
like that.
hundred percent.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that. Like so,
Okay.
and you can't make that happen either. It's just one of those phenomenon that just happens, and you're like, man, that just doesn't look like a word anymore right now.
Right. Yes. Uh, I'm thinking as well because I underwent like a connected breathing session. So one of the things that, because I'm also a word nerd and relate a lot to like words, my experience was in addition to the tingling sensations, what like certain words would like emerge, keywords that are important for me. Mango is one of them.
uh,
Mangoes, all of that stuff.
like a cognitive map kind of thing, or something else.
What's a cognitive nap?
So in cognitive psych, it's kind of like that, where you have associations with different concepts, words, etc., and it
Right.
like
Yeah.
branches out.
Yeah. The scheme. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
something along these lines. Um, So yeah, I was thinking is if you in your meditation, if certain like words appear to you, or because less, I mean, lots of people talk about images, but because I'm such, I'm very word oriented, it surfaces for me as
That's
words
really
sometimes.
interesting. Not necessarily. I mean, I did do affirmations on repeat. But and I know some people will stare at a candle flame and things like that. Like I can't, for some reason I can't meditate that way. Like I really have to check out. My version of checking out, like closing my eyes and everything. Um, I find nature meditative, but yeah, I can't say like I would meditate on a word unless it was part of an affirmation,
Right.
like a series of words, I guess.
What are your favorite tools for language market fit?
So actually having conversations with people.
Okay.
So getting in a video chat like this and talking to a community member and asking them how they feel, not just, a series of questions around like, what features do you like or whatever, but more like, how does the community make you feel? What emotions do they feel around how the community's making them feel, how community members are making them feel, how moderators make them feel, how guidelines make them feel, how interacting makes them feel, just like capturing all of their emotions around that. And then it's not my favorite, but you've got like keyword research, and I'd say it's not my favorite because I did SEO forever and I'm like burnt out on it. But you've got that. You've got like industry reports from like McKinsey and Forrester and such. Um, you've got um, you've got like support tickets you can look at, or like chat, like your live chat information that you can look at, like you can look at like emails, any kind of correspondence whatsoever with community members. There's qualitative data there. You can look at how they reviewed your product on something like G2. You can look at how they reviewed competitor products on there, like Capterra and so on, and like capture the feeling and the language that they're using on across these different mediums, I guess you could say. You could look at like their blogs, like how they're writing about um your brand or somebody else's brand, or just like a concept, like anywhere that like somebody's communicating is like a tool.
Um, so what are some kind of insights that jump out to you when you think of the work that you've done with the language market fit? Specific cases specific insights that you acquired only after doing the actual language market fit work.
Definitely that when there's a few things. One is when you do have a conversation like this, a video chat, for example, with a community member or an ideal customer, and you have questions for them, just let them answer the questions and let there be time in which silence can fall. Because if you keep just running through a series of questions, you could end up interrupting them sharing more of their thoughts, and you lose a wealth of information that way. So you have to be patient in your conversations with people, and just like let them speak and not interrupt them whatsoever. And the other one really does go back to emotions and deeply understanding like how people are feeling, because like a lot of, and I kind of intrinsically knew these things, but like I've seen a lot of community managers who just go through the motions, like, oh, I'm just gonna post like share Saturday or like talk about it Tuesday or whatever, and it's just like a bureaucratic thing for them to do, but they aren't putting emotions into it. So like you've got your community members putting emotions, but like I've seen a lot of community managers fall flat without putting their emotions back into it. And if you don't do that, and you're just doing this formulaic approach, like best practices, this is what I read to do, then you're not going to connect as a community manager either. You're not going to be a good community manager, like unless you're also emotional along with your community. You've got to have some kind of like personality in there that's outside of being formulaic best practices. And like there's some community managers, I'm not sure how they've gotten as far as they have, and I know that might sound a little arrogant and conceited, but like being a community manager takes like some kind of actual passion and like giving a fuck about your community and the people in it, rather than just like applying these best practices.
Right. I'm thinking in terms of like specific case studies
Yeah.
with like a client who, after you did the language market fit with them, they were surprised to know something about the product or the audience.
Okay. Yeah. So I've helped, there was a SaaS business that I helped with language market fit at the end of last year, and they didn't know at all to talk to their customers. And I mean, they knew to talk to their customers, but they didn't know to take the language their customers were using and then apply it back to the copy and the value proposition and everything on their website and all their communication and their sales deck and everything. Like they had a wealth of recordings, YouTube recordings with testimonials, and they had a wealth of reviews on G2 and Capterra and everything. And they had a wealth of data and like Gong and other places where they were capturing conversations with customers, but they had no idea to take that language and like pull it apart and find really interesting ways that the customer was talking that they could take and apply back to their own marketing and sales materials.
Okay, so if somebody wants to delve deeper into language market fit, are there any books or resources that you would recommend?
You and I are going to write those.
Okay. It's interesting because I was like thinking like I want to read to get more delve deeper into them, but there isn't many. If
No, you've got like a value proposition design book, but like, no, that's for you and I to write. So we're going
right,
to do that.
right. Stay tuned, people.
Yeah.
Uh, have you ever came across language market fit for languages other than English?
I wish I could say that, but like I'm an ignorant American, so like
It's something that kind of like makes me like I feel it's such a blue ocean
yeah.
that I want to use somehow. Like I want to use
Mhm.
my knowledge of Arabic, especially like there's
Yeah.
a huge number of people who use this language.
Yeah.
Uh, but
It's like the fifth most spoken language in the
yeah,
world.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but I'm thinking like, okay, but how do we actually position it? how do we, use the knowledge that has been accumulated over in terms of, social listening and search listening in the Western world, and how can we take that into to Arabic content?
Right.
That
That's
that
something we should definitely talk about.
right. That would be the second edition of the book.
Yeah, especially since I'm also interested in Arabic. I mean,
Yes.
it checks out.
Right,
So.
right, right.